We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks.
Democrats who still aren't over November 5th yet are still dealing with the aftermath of the backlash they have received from when Trump addressed Congress just a couple of nights ago. It wasn't officially a State of the Union address. It was just a joint session addressed by the president. It was a State of the Union. That said, they have gotten smacked down from everybody concerning the fact that they just sat there on their hands the whole night and didn't clap, didn't applaud, couldn't even stand for a 13-year-old boy who is a cancer survivor. So they had their official response. Now you've got members of the Democratic Party kind of going rogue and doing their own responses. And it's not going much better.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody on the top of the line!
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell. Click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. It's the only way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Afternoon Drive. To say that the Democrats have a PR problem right now is a gross understatement. They have an absolutely directionless problem right now. They don't know where they're going. They don't know how to get there. The only thing they are right now is anti-Trump, opposition Trump. How well did that work for you during the 2024 campaign? You propped up, you put Kamala Harris in there. You tried to sell her as the brat girl, that all of a sudden she was the hottest thing and everybody was jubilant and excited. And you got soy boy actors like Sean Astin, who used to play, cool characters like Rudy, doing videos about she's joyful, she dances, she sings. That's what's going to get Zelensky and Putin to the table? Because somebody is joyful and dances and sings. You tried to sell her as this it girl. This was a woman who only got her job because of DEI, didn't earn anything. She just didn't earn it. When she was running as a presidential candidate in 2020, she never rose above 1% in support and canceled her own campaign before the first primary vote because by that point she was polling at 0. And Joe Biden picked her on purpose, knowing full well she was no threat to overthrow him and kind of a security blanket that nobody within the Democratic Party or the establishment wanted this woman to be a heartbeat away from the presidency, so they would do everything they had to do to prop up and protect old Joe. And when they forced him out, his middle finger back to the Democratic Party, back to George Clooney, back to Barack Obama, back to Nancy Botox Pelosi, was to immediately send out a tweet endorsing Camilla thinks she's a hottie Harris. That eliminated any type of Democratic primary because the Democrats, who are all about identity politics, didn't want it to backfire and blow up on themselves that they forced out the woman of color to go with somebody male, pale, and stale. So they got Kamala, built up the phony propaganda around her, and of course, she went down in absolute flames to Donald Trump. And the Democrats, still reeling from all this, still can't accept the fact that what Trump ran on is hugely popular with the American people. So after his joint address that has a 76% approval rating, which Democrats are trying to spin as, well, there were no actual Democrats watching that night. This is all 76% of the Republicans watching liked it. No, this was 76% of all people watching. It was an absolute affirmation of the mandate, yes, I said mandate, that Donald Trump has. And the Democrats are still reeling. Now, one of the most unenviable positions you can have is to be the party out of power that has to respond to the State of the Union address. You know, the State of the Union, you are there, of course, in the House chamber. You've got a packed room. You've got a live audience. There's the applause, there's the heckling, but you've got that lot. And if you are someone who knows how to deliver a speech, you can even turn being panned into absolute TV gold. And Donald Trump has that gift in spades. So you've got that live audience, you've got the visitors in the gallery, the stories that you can point to, having people stand. The poor schmuck that has to give the response, just ask Marco Rubio when he had to do it and he had to grab a glass of water in the middle of his response. It's very, nobody envies, nobody should want that job. So Alyssa Slotkin, the junior senator from Michigan. And again, she got elected because she ran as a Republican. That's just, she ran as a moderate. No, she ran as a Mitt Romney style Republican. That's what she did. She wants to talk about her blue collar roots and being from Michigan and a patriot and served in the military. What they leave out of her story is she's CIA. She's CIA. She's a well-trained political actress. She's CIA. And so what does she do? She comes out to give the response that they're trying to paint the Democratic Party again as they're kind of in the middle. You know, Ronald Reagan outed this decades ago when Bill Clinton was running for the very first time and Ronald Reagan addressed the RNC. And he referred to the DNC as that masquerade ball where they all pretend to be normal and down the middle and common sense people. And it's when everything is over and the voting is done, if they win, that's when they show you their true liberal progressive side. Now, Alyssa Slotkin has voted with Trump on a couple of things. She did vote for the Riley Gaines Act. That was a good thing. She does talk about a secure border. That's an intelligent thing. But at the end of the day, she's still a Democrat and retired from the CIA. So she's well versed in Operation Mockingbird. She's well trained. She was part of the propaganda arm of the CIA during the endless Middle East wars that the Bush crime dynasty got us involved in. So now she comes out and she has to give the response. Again, she's got to kind of keep it down the middle. And of course, she's trying to paint Trump as his economic plan will do nothing but be a benefit to his billionaire friends. Really, the Democratic Party has far more billionaires in it than the Republican Party does. And trust me, those Democratic billionaires are not these saints who are like, yes, please take half my money. I want it to go to the government. So she zeroes in on DOGE and what Elon Musk is doing. Of course, she tries to strike fear into people, tries to get them afraid that Elon Musk has your information. Everybody's got our information now. Can we stop the childishness? Can we stop the gross naivete that somehow because you've got, Norton antivirus on your device that you're protected? You can even have identity lock, and I've got all those things, and yet I've been through this stuff. There are people who have our information, and right now who has our information? A bunch of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and she said, we need Elon Musk, there's no guardrails there. We don't know what they're doing with that information. You mean like when the NSA was spying on us because we were the enemy, according to the Patriot Act? Reading our emails, reading our text messages, listening in on our cell phone calls? So then she says this.
We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
Oh, you know what? Right there, she was the male Mitt Romney. Can I play that clip again?
We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
We absolutely need to end waste, and I'll work with you. What we can't do is reckless. We can't do this recklessly. We've got to do this thoughtfully and methodically and well planned. In other words, we're going to just jerk off the American people. And yes, I made that sign. And yes, in the comments, somebody can say, I can't believe you're a pastor and did that. Sometimes you have to say things that people get it and understand it. The Apostle Paul once said, hey, it is better to say 10 words people understand than 10,000 and nobody has a clue what you're saying. And everybody gets that. And I'm sorry that that's offensive to somebody, but that's exactly what the career politicians in the swamp in Washington have done for the American people for literally generations now, and enough. Here's what you don't like about Elon Musk. He and his team have gone in there and they are reporting on a daily basis all the fraud, all the corruption, and we're actually seeing it now in real time. You've got even Congress people like Jim Jordan saying, look, we've always known that there was waste and fraud, but now we're actually seeing members of Congress have petitioned these agencies. We want to see your books. And they've been basically told to go pound sand. That these unelected bureaucrats, these swamp dwellers, think that this is their country, their government. They'll decide what gets paid and what doesn't get paid. And now they got the Supreme Court and these other just loon judges out there determining that, yes, the Trump administration will pay these billions and trillions of dollars of waste. You're going to do it. You know, we talk a lot about checks and balances. Who checks and balances the Supreme Court? Now, they're the final word. We might need to rethink that. So, this canard that Elon Musk is going to do something bad with the information, this canard that we're just going to, we'll how many times out of both Republican and Democratic administrations do you hear this? We put together a committee. They are looking into this and they will report back to the American people. You know what she's talking about there. It's another circle jerk. It's another, we'll put a bipartisan group together. They'll do nothing for a year, but they'll get paid because we'll bring in an outside, approved, proper group. We'll waste money and give them a lot of money. They will do nothing, and then they will generate a 200-page report, and they'll talk about maybe $100 million worth of, and they'll point out a few things that they can kind of, target and get rid of. And then that's it. They won't actually really do anything, and they won't actually make any real cuts. They'll just tell the American people that's what they're doing. What they are hacked off at Donald Trump and Elon Musk about is the American people are now seeing exactly how things are being wasteful, what the fraud is, and it's being dealt with. And that absolutely terrifies the Democrats because that's where they get their power from, is grabbing people right there and saying, if you want support, if you want funding, you're with us. The game's up. And Alyssa Slotkin, you're a little late to the party. But of course, Bernie Sanders decided that the Democratic response was wrong. This Alyssa girl, they needed me. Because we know that it looks so good for the Democratic Party to constantly have this revolution against Trump, this resist movement led by a bunch of geriatrics. I mean, think about what we have seen over the past couple of weeks. You have Mad Maxine Waters with her James Brown wig that doesn't fit right, standing in front of the Department of Education demanding that the one lone security guy just standing there like this with his arms folded, let me in. You let me in there. Let me in there right now. And he just standing there just shaking his head. No, I'm not. Show me your credentials. I already showed them to you. I want to see your identification. Hey there, Mad Max. I thought ID was a racist thing. After all, that's why we can't have people show ID when they're voting, because that's racist. So I'm supposed to believe that every person of color and minority that I see driving around is driving around without a driver's license, without proper identification and authorization to be operating a motor vehicle. Is that what you're telling us, Mad Max? So again, and then the Congress people that were with Maxine Waters, I mean, they all look like they just escaped out of the nursing home. You know, they were at the assisted living facility and they got in the van to, you know, take a little trip into town. They were going out for ice cream and they just stopped by the Department of Education, you know, waving their walkers and their canes, demand, let us in. Then you got Al Green. I thought Al Green was a soul singer. Anyway, you got Al Green in the well of the House the other night, screaming and yelling unintelligibly at Donald Trump, waving his cane like he's Scrooge McDuck, and of course, eventually gets himself thrown out. Well, walked out. He needed to have been grabbed and dragged. You can't do that. He needed to be grabbed and dragged. And by the way, Al and the rest of you Democrats, let me help you out with something. When you're going to go to an event like that and you want to create a scene and you're going to say something that demands to be heard, not having a microphone or a bullhorn, everybody at home just saw, again, a crazy old man waving his cane saying, somebody bring me my bedpan! Somebody bring me my bedpan now! So this team of geriatrics, you know, you got Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, you know, holding up a can of Corona beer saying that tariffs on Mexico would mean Americans for the big game won't have beer. So we don't brew any beer here in the United States. Gee, if my memory serves me correctly, I'm not a beer drinker. Memory serves me correctly, we have an entire city in this country. I think it's in Wisconsin, and I think that their number one business entity there is beer. Not to mention now, Colorado's in on the action. Not to mention that literally in every city and town in America that's got any type of youth or yuppie population, they've got microbreweries going. There's not a beer shortage in America. But again, this is how we're going to connect with young people. Then they just recently did a video series with Chuck E. Cheese Schumer and Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, and the rest of them, you know, and they're sitting there and thare holding the mic. What are you, like 15? What are you, like, seriously, what are you, like a teenager making a TikTok video? For crying out loud. They just so inept. So Bernie Sanders decides he's going to give the proper response and he's going to be hard-hitting against the lies of Donald Trump.
Well over 99% of Social Security checks are going out to people who earned those checks. 70 million Americans. Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks.
Did you catch what he said? He didn't say that checks to 150-year-old and 300-year-old people are not being sent out. He said, there are no 300-year-old people receiving Social Security checks.
Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks.
Well, duh, of course there's no 300-year-old people receiving Social Security checks. They're dead. But he didn't say they aren't being sent out. See, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that DOGE, the things they have uncovered, they just don't really understand what they're looking at. And it's old software, it's an old computer system that the Social Security Department uses. Why is the federal government running the Social Security office off of 50-year-old computer technology? That'd be my first question. Second question, he's not saying that the money isn't being released. He's just saying it's not going to 300-year-olds. Well, we know that. It's going to illegals. Or it's going to wherever else the CIA or whatever other phantom agencies out there are directing that money. Didn't say the checks aren't being cut. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to create this illusion with the cuts that they're talking about at the VA, the cuts they're talking about at the Social Security Administration. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to scare veterans, and that you won't receive your benefits, telling elderly people you won't receive your Social Security payments. That's how Donald Trump is going to pay for all this. He's cutting your stuff. No, he's not. He's cutting waste. Departments that are way overstaffed have 3 times the number of employees that they actually need. That's what he's cutting. And the VA hasn't been run correctly in decades. It was under Donald Trump that finally VA benefits and hospital visits happened quickly because he got the crud out of the way. And he wants to do that for the administration overall, that the VA runs effectively and efficiently so we can get our veterans off the streets and not living under underpasses, but actually get them the help they need and get them plugged back into real life and real homes and living a good quality of life. But you can't do that if most of your budget is going to a bunch of employees for all of their pay and benefits who do nothing. So don't let them scare you on these cuts. We need to do this slowly. No, we need to do it swiftly and we need to do it openly so the American people see it, which is why, by the way, 80% of America is for this. Dems, you had a bad night. You've had bad nights since the election. The American people know you have been doing nothing but lie, 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 lie. And if you want to turn this thing around, stop waving your little bingo signs. Stop waving your canes and just start telling the truth.